Agroecology in the plantation sector. Now is the time. To fully enjoy this presentation, please make sure your loudspeakers operate correctly. Why is it important to engage in an agroecological transition in Southeast Asian plantations now? First of all, because farming is losing its attractiveness for younger people. Second, because production systems are not flexible enough to cope with rapid climate change. Also because the plantation sector is facing labor shortages. And eventually because agroforestry is still in its infancy. Farming is losing its attractiveness for younger people. Young workers are less and less likely to consider farming as an interesting and stable job opportunity. The farming population is aging in all Southeast Asian agricultural countries. For example, the average age of farmers is 37 in Vietnam, 51 in Thailand, 52 in Indonesia, and even 60 in Malaysia. So, who will tend the farms in the years to come? Production systems are not flexible enough to cope with rapid climate change. Very few production systems are sufficiently flexible to face the realities of climate change. Plantation crops are generally installed for several decades. It is therefore difficult to change to a new crop variety or a new cropping system before the end of the crop cycle. Such cycles can last for 20 years or more. For example, coconut, oil palm, or rubber. The plantation sector is facing labor shortages. Most plantation crops in Southeast Asia, for example, rubber, oil palm, or timber, are grown under intensive monocropping systems. These systems were set up 1 century ago when arable land was cheap and abundant, and plantations were mostly worked by forced labor under very tough working conditions and low wages. These conditions are clearly no longer the norm today. Labor shortages have been accentuated by the COVID crisis too, as migrant workers have decided to stay and work in their place of origin. Mechanization of cultivation and harvesting operations also need to be improved. And finally, agroforestry is still in its infancy. Agroforestry practices are still in their infancy for most of the plantation systems in Southeast Asia. An efficient process of transition towards integrated agroforestry is urgently needed to test and validate new plantation systems. Innovative planting designs, such as intercropping, alley planting, or forest islands, need to be tested on a large scale and under various agro-environmental conditions. The aim is clearly to improve both the climatic and socio-economic resilience of future plantation systems.